Hey guys, my name is Matsimio, and welcome to our episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question for today comes from Jamie, and it is, what do you think about a zombie mode in Rainbow Six Siege? So, surprisingly, you're not the only one that asked this question for Sunday Mailbox this week, and I have a feeling that's due in part because there was a recent leak that basically stated that Ubisoft was working on a zombie game mode for Rainbow Six Siege. And while I'm sure Ubisoft would do a decent job of it, I don't think it'd be the worst thing ever, I have to ask the question, why? I can't imagine Ubisoft approaching us and being like, hey, you know how we took 6 months for Operation Health, where we took away a map from this season? We're not going to give you the Polish map? Well, it was because we're working on a zombie game mode. I just can't see that happening. I just can't see them spending the time and the resources to create something like this because I just don't think the community even desires something like this for Rainbow Six Siege, and it would just be a misallocation of their resources. Now, if they ever did want to add in some sort of horde mode, I wouldn't want them to go with zombies. I would rather them just improve upon the system that they already have in the game. How awesome would it be to jump in a map with a bunch of friends and then fight waves and waves of enemies that progressively get harder? Maybe for the first couple of rounds, you're fighting recruits, and then after that, they start to interject a wide variety of different operators that you're gonna have to fight against. So at like wave 20, you're fighting against like 4 fuses who are just obliterating the objective from every single wall. Blitz is charging on in, flashing you, and you're gonna have to work with your team to overcome these overwhelming odds. We already have a lot of variety in the operators that are in the game, and so if they were able to at least have a halfway decent AI in a horde mode, you just kind of start throwing in a different variety of those operators that you have to fight against. That right there could be a really fun horde mode. And so, yeah, I don't know if I necessarily believe this zombie mode leak rumor. I mean, it's possible, it could happen, but I would have to say they'd be pretty disappointed if they did spend their resources and their time to develop something like that, especially considering we did have just Operation Health a couple of months ago. But of course, that is just my 2 cents. The next question is, do you think that Star Wars Battlefront 2 is now less pay to win with the recent changes? Yes and no. So right now, while I'm really liking Star Wars Battlefront 2, I think it's significantly better than the last one. They've made a lot of improvements. They've clearly listened to the community on a lot of aspects of the game. But as soon as you take a look at the progression system, that's where things start to fall apart and honestly get a bit manipulative. So to give you a clear example of this, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is going to be a very grindy game. To unlock Darth Vader, one of the most iconic villains ever in any franchise, is going to require 60,000 credits to unlock him. Someone did the math, and that's going to require around 30 to 40 hours of in-game progression. If you're not buying any microtransactions, it's going to take you 30 to 40 hours just to unlock that one hero. That's just one of them. If you want to unlock Luke, you want to unlock Leia, Chewbacca, all of these, it is literally going to take you hundreds of hours to get all of that content. Now, some people might be thinking, okay, that's not necessarily a bad thing. One big critique of Star Wars Battlefront 1 was that there wasn't a lot of progression. There wasn't a lot of things to kind of strive after, so why is this inherently a bad thing? Well, if you want to spend all of your time to unlock these heroes, I mean, Darth Vader, who doesn't want to play as Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker? If you just focus on that for the first 80 hours, that means that you're not able to spend your in-game credits on the loot box system. Right now, the loot box system is the only way that you're able to really progress your characters and buy different star cards. The star cards is the progression in Star Wars Battlefront 2. That is the way that you get cool different abilities. And so essentially, you have to make the choice. Do I want to play as some of the most iconic characters in the Star Wars franchise, or do I buy loot boxes? One of the big fears I had with Star Wars Battlefront 2 when they first announced that they were going to add in microtransactions was that they were going to slow down the progress to a halt, basically to force you or incentivize you to pay for loot boxes. It seems like that fear was pretty justified, at least in its current states. Now, I love the fact that they're trying to add in technically free DLC. They want to bring in new story missions. That's amazing. Like, I never thought they were going to add in free story DLC. They're going to add in new heroes. There's going to be new maps. There's going to be a lot of content there. But at the end of the day, is this really free? If I'm gonna have to grind out at hundreds of hours just to actually get the core gameplay that I thought I was buying in my $60 AAA video game, we have to ask the question, at what cost? And so I'm really holding on to hope that when the game officially launches, that they're going to be making some changes. One rumor is that right now, because it's in the trial version, that DICE has basically made everything really expensive so that people that are in the trial can't just buy everything and have a huge advantage when the game finally goes live. And so they're going to drop down like that 60,000 credit Vader, he's going to drop down to 10,000. If that is actually what's going to happen, then a lot of these fears that I just expressed are going to go away a bit. But DICE or EA hasn't indicated that these rumors are true, and so we're pretty much just kind of holding on to hope. And so, yeah, to answer your question, they kind of took some steps forward to make it less pay to win, but it feels like they took one step forward and then two steps way back. The next question comes from Johnny, and it is, do you feel that it was a missed opportunity to be able to rappel out of a helicopter onto the top of the new skyscraper map, or at least into one of the open areas? Well, we shouldn't jump to conclusions just yet because we haven't played on the map, but I would imagine that, yeah, you're probably right, there isn't going to be a helicopter drop-off. That said, though, I do think that there is going to be some way for us to make our way onto the roof. I know that in the article they mention that a lot of the ways that you're going to get inside of the building is through rappelling on in, but I think if you also watch the trailer, there appears to be some openings up there. I'm assuming you're going to be able to walk down like a ladder or a staircase, for example, and then there's going to be a bunch of hatches that you can then push onto the objective from those locations. So I still think that that's going to be accessible. The main reason why I selected this question, though, is that it's basically been verified recently that the reason why we don't have helicopter drop-offs in Rainbow Six Siege is that it basically just screwed with the balance of the map. Everyone would just select the helicopter drop-off on the top of the roof because you would just be able to get to the objective so much faster. You wouldn't have to worry about people peeking out of windows anymore. Like, that just would no longer be a thing in the game. Like, you would still need to rappel on down to get to certain objectives and stuff like that, but that would take away a really large aspect of the game and also allow the attacking side to get to the objective significantly faster. If you were playing on Cafe, for example, if offense was able to get onto the building instantaneously, they could just bum rush the objective through the skylight practically as soon as the round started. People are still filtering around trying to put up their gadgets. They're trying to reinforce walls, and if all of a sudden the enemy team is running Ash, all these 3-speed operators, and they're right in your face, they jumped on through the hatch or jumped on through the skylights, that would be very difficult to deal with. And so while I know a lot of people love the idea of having a helicopter drop-off in Siege, even I do. The first time I saw that trailer a couple years ago at E3, it looked amazing. It added to the atmosphere. It seems like it would just fit perfectly with this game. We have to remember that the developers have to consider game design and game balance, and it appears that it caused some problems. The next question is, do you think that when your team killed, you should be able to ask if it was an accident or malicious, and if you get a certain amount of malicious reports, you get banned, but if they're genuine accidents, then nothing happens? So this has been something that I think a lot of people have been advocating for quite some time, and that is just being able to have a punish or a forgive mechanic when you get team killed. There is a pretty big difference between someone who gets a team kill because their teammate accidentally ran in front of them when they were trying to take out the enemy, and someone who starts the round by whipping around and then just shooting you in the face just because they wanted to for some unknown reason. It would be amazing if we had the ability to either forgive or punish our teammates. That way, if you're playing with a bunch of friends who are just messing around and you don't care if they accidentally team kill you or even if they mean to team kill you, you can forgive them and they're not going to face any consequences. They're your friend, you guys are just messing around. Who cares what you do at that point? Why should you be punished? Also, if you accidentally do take someone down, you're not going to be punished for that, while someone who was clearly going out of their way to get these team kills, you're going to have some way of reporting them and punishing them. And while I do think that this game does do a decent job of punishing these players if they continue to team kill over and over, it would just be nice if we had more control as players. I would love if they just gave us more options for reporting in general in Rainbow Six Siege. If there is someone who is just simply being toxic, there is currently no way for you to report them in-game. You could report them for suspicious behavior, but what is that going to do? Like, they're not hacking, they're clearly not using third-party software. They're just being incredibly toxic. And so yeah, I agree with you on this one. I think it's a great idea. I wish that Ubisoft would even expand upon it into other aspects of the game. I realize they would need to add in the infrastructure to allow us to even do something like this, but I think it would be a great step in the right direction. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's episode of Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Are you a bit worried about Star Wars Battlefront 2's loot boxes and progression system? Would you love to have a helicopter drop-off in Rainbow Six Siege? Let me know down below in the comments. As always, if you would like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can also leave a comment down below or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.